Ukrainian President Zelenskyy compares Russian invasion to Stalin-era genocide. They want to destroy us again.
Here's a summary of the article.
President Zelenskyy compared Russian war tactics to the Soviet-era genocide, which left millions dead. Russia has blocked key Ukrainian ports, preventing the global export of grains. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy compared the food crisis in Ukraine from the Russian war to the 1930s Stalin-era genocide. Zelenskyy drew the comparison at the Ukrainian International Summit on Food Security on Saturday, accusing Russia of causing another global crisis. Every year, on the last Saturday in November, we honor the memory of millions of people. Millions of tortured and murdered Ukrainians. Women, men, elderly people. Millions of children. Millions of victims of famine, Zelenskyy said in his address. On Saturday, Zelenskyy accused Russia of using the same tactics in its war of aggression against Ukraine. We see what is happening today in the world. What is happening in Ukraine? They want to destroy us again with bombs, bullets, cold, and again with hunger, Zelenskyy said. Ukraine is typically an exporter of grains, produce, and dairy, but this year is different, Zelenskyy said.
This post received a score of 44,000, with an upvote ratio of 84%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
When Russia purposefully kidnaps children and has them rush adopted by Russian people, among other atrocities. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty apt comparison.
And forces mass starvation on a civilian population.
That Ukrainian grain they block is responsible for feeding some of the poorest people on the planet. Fuck Russia.
They are like the kids at the back of the class who interrupt everything and ruin the whole class for everyone. Except they are also genocidal.
If given a chance, I'm sure a fair portion of those kids would also be genocidal.
Taught 5th grade for half a year. Can confirm those kids would be genocidal given the chance.
Fuck the Russian government.
Just hope the sanctions will stay for decades. Fuck Russia.
I doubt it. Russia's #1 priority afterwards will be to whitewash their crimes, while not actually significantly democratizing or giving up the territories it took. And it will most likely be successful in the whitewashing because there are still too many who believe it's just Putin and his clone army doing everything. But in reality most Russians are either active fascists or apathetic fascists. Then we'll get to go through all of this again.
Russia has been wanting, and actively participating, in Ukrainian genocide for over 100 years. It's long overdue time to be stopped.
And Polish genocide, which is something I very recently learned about.
When the world said, never again, they meant, never again, we hope.
There have been dozens of genocides since 1945.
Yeah, there are even like 20+ countries where the threat of genocide is real and current. A lot of them will never reach that stage, but the threat is far from quelled. Racial tensions are sky high in many countries right now.
The history of Russia's genocidal approach is very clear. It's far beyond precedent, it's incontrovertible pattern. This has happened before. Only someone blind to the history could poo-poo Zelenskyy's statement. See the article, A Tale of Four Cities, by historian and political commentator Michael Ignatieff. Or for a more in-depth study that documents not only Russia's arrogant, violent history but Putin's own ideology of ethnic chauvinism, fascism, and genocide, see historian Timothy Snyder's book, The Road to Unfreedom.
I can add an anecdote to this. My great-grandparents on my mother's side were Russian but left for Western Canada in the early 1900s. What happened, I hear you asking? Well, they were part of a small, isolated religious community called the Doukhobors, and when the Soviets came into power and the purges started, the Doukhobors were ideal targets. I know very little about exactly what happened, but I do know that it was with the help of a Ukrainian family they escaped the Iron Curtain and ended up in the town of Grand Forks. The ruling parties, ruling class of Russia have always been fond of genocide.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.